The song is Gesher Tzal Ma'od, which translates as, "The world is a very narrow bridge." It is based upon a saying by Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav. Rabbi Nachman was the great-grandson of the founder of the Hasidic movement within Judaism, the Baal Shem Tov. He lived at the end of the 18th and the beginning of the 19th century. Rab Nachman is credited with breathing new life into the Hasidic movement by combining the esoteric secrets of Judaism, the Kabbalah, with in-depth Torah scholarship. He attracted thousands of followers during his lifetime, and his influence continues to this day. Rabbi Nachman's religious philosophy revolved around closeness to God and speaking to God in a normal conversation, as he would say, as you would with a best friend. His saying is, the entire world is a very narrow bridge, and the main principle is not to be afraid at all. As I was humming the melody, I started to wonder, what does Rabbi Nachman's phrase mean? Were bridges during the time different from what we have now? Were they built without side rails, so falling off a narrow bridge was a fear? Was it a response to the fact that fewer people knew how to swim, so the idea of falling off a bridge caused people fear? Was it that the road narrowed on the bridge, and therefore there were more hazards, more traffic to be aware of? Maybe he was saying the only way to cross is to look straight ahead at your target and not to look down, because heights can be scary. I know that fear can sometimes be a self-fulfilling prophecy, and once we decide we cannot do something, we prevent ourselves from achieving a goal. Maybe he is saying that to cross the bridge is to do difficult things, and to do those things requires us to have faith, because with faith in God and ourselves, so many things are possible. So what might Rabbi Nachman's statement mean for us in a modern world? Bridges are places where different paths merge. They were a place where you could fall off or run into someone that was dangerous. Think about how many children's stories and fables take place on or around a bridge. I think Rabbi Nachman is telling us that life is risky and things are constantly changing. We can either be afraid of it or meet it with eyes open, prepared for most of what life might throw our way. The biblical selection from Matthew that we read this morning, Matthew, by the way, the most Jewish of the Gospels, said, "For the gate is narrow and the road is hard that leads to life, but there are few who find it." There are two paths in life, one easy and one hard. As people of faith, we are meant to understand that the path we choose to walk is not supposed to be easy. We must use the narrow bridge, the narrow road, the narrow gate. In moments of personal transition or trial, God commands individual men and women not to let their fears get the best of them. When Abraham sets out to uncharted territory as the first to enter into a covenant with an unseeable God, he is told, "Al tira," do not fear. God reassures him with the promise of protection and progeny. When Hagar, Abraham's first wife, was about to give in to despair after having been exiled by a jealous Sarah, an angel of God calls out, "Al tirai," have no fear, and rescues her and her son Ishmael from dying of thirst in the desert. When Isaac sets out from the security of home and does not know where the road may lead, God says, "Al tira," do not fear, and reasserts the blessings promised to his father Abraham. In every generation, from Abraham to King David to Daniel and beyond, So many of our biblical ancestors heard these words of encouragement just when they needed them most, just when they felt most vulnerable, when they felt most alone. The phrase, "do not fear," is repeated so often in the Hebrew Bible that some biblical scholars understand it to be a common expression of reassurance. What does the repetition say about the giants of our faith, our biblical visionaries and dreamers? Even they had fears. Fear is part of the human experience. Only a fool is fearless when danger is real. The hero, however, is the one who somehow hears God's urging, "Al tir'ah," do not fear, and acts despite his or her fears. However, our faith encourages us one kind of fear, Yirat Adonai, often translated as fear of God, often probably better translated as reverence or awe. Yirat Adonai is a distinct command intended to put other fears into perspective. There is a distinction between the fears we can understand and the fears that come from the unknown, from something bigger than ourselves. I had a conversation with a member of the synagogue who recently celebrated her 100th birthday. We talked about all the changes she has seen in the world. She told me that her great-grandchildren think that she's a dinosaur because she does not have a cell phone and does not text message people. She said to me, "After 100 years, I have earned the right to refuse to change. All I want is a pile of books and the ability to enjoy them." And I heartily agreed with her. However, for the rest of us, I would argue the same is not true. As Rabbi Nachman taught, "Kol ha'olam kulo, gesher tzar me'od." All the world is a very narrow bridge, but the point is not to fear at all. The world and the unknown are risky, and risk can change and risk of change can provoke fear. However, they can also be opportunities for growth and maturation. In Psalm 118, the psalm that is often used as part of worship, the psalmist says, "Adonai li velo ira," God is with me, I shall not fear. Some days these words are offered with full confidence. Some days they are aspirational, repeated with the voice of longing for security. And some days they can be enough to crack open our fears and allow us all the possibility of courage. But courage for what? We ask for the courage to accept the world we live in is ever-changing and that we have two choices, two roads. We can embrace the change or risk being pushed off to the side as irrelevant. The bridge is narrow, and I don't know about you, but despite Rabbi Nachman's advice, I'm still a little bit scared. However, when communities come together, when congregations come together, we take each other's hands, we walk onto the bridge, into the unknown, into the future, and regardless of what happens, we know that we shall do it together. Amen.